Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Driving on my way to work, and I wanted to talk to you about Antigone. So that's a play by Sophocles, ancient Greek tragedian, and you may have heard of it. You may have read it in high school. I did not read it. We read Oedipus Rex, and it's part of a trilogy of plays. Antigone is and Oedipus, and this is one. I think it's pretty important. I don't know. Somehow we skipped over it, but basically, you know Oedipus. You more likely read Oedipus, or at least he's someone you know the wiki on Oedipus and how he married his mom. He killed his dad. Well, he had children through that marriage, and he had a son named Polynices. He had a daughter named Antigone, and he had a couple other kids. And Antigone is an interesting character, and the play is really fascinating because Sophocles is playing with a particular attention point in Athenian society at the time, and also in particular, this is, well, suffice it to say that it has a lot of application to any culture and time period, and Sophocles is going to say why. So Antigone is an outsider to Creon, who is the insider. Creon is the king of Thebes in this story. He's the brother of Oedipus, and Creon's there to put order back into the city. There's been the fates have wrought their will upon Oedipus, and it's created chaos. And Creon's idea, he's an old man at this point, and his wizened idea is we need to establish order, and that's going to be through the rule of law, and it has to be followed no matter what. And that's what's going to be a stabilizer to the culture, to the city, to the civilization, so that people, can thrive again, so that the city can thrive again. And that is portrayed as a good. It's understood, it's assumed to be a good. It's assumed that you as the audience will understand that that's a noble motivation. That's really important. The guy on the inside, at the top of the hierarchy, is going to do some bad things, and he's going to do them for good reasons. He's going to do them for very understandable, even noble reasons. And the story is about him critiquing, being critiqued by outsiders. So Polynices is, let's just fast forward to, he's dead outside the city. Okay, that's a nephew of Creon. That's a son of Oedipus, and Antigone. Well, Creon orders that his body should not be buried, and that's an instantiation of a law of the city that is in conflict with a cosmic law, and this is what's important. So the cosmic law is older than the city law. It predates the city itself. It's instantiated by the gods. It's cosmic. That's the word I like to use for this. So Antigone, as an outsider, so she's a young woman. She sees her brother being unlawfully exposed to decay above ground, and the jackals and carrion birds, and this is an injustice. It's a cosmic injustice, even though it's a faithful oh, the city is faithfully obeying the king's law, and in a way is refinding its own order and refinding a stability through paying attention to these laws. This is something that obeying this particular law is putting stability in a different order of a jeopardy. Okay, so this daughter of incest, and a woman, and it probably doesn't need to be said that Sophocles is playing with a kind of irony. So the Greeks, they invent dramatic irony, but which is just like letting the audience know something that the characters don't know. But they also invent this kind of self-critiquing story system, if that makes sense, where there's a character like Antigone who, traditionally speaking, should not be the bearer of wisdom against, she shouldn't be the moral giant in the story against Creon, who is the old aristocratic man in the story. And yet Antigone is the voice, and so that's an irony, in the sense that we would use that today. That's a modern idea of irony, that it shouldn't come from her, and yet it does. But she has the belief that that her brother should be buried, and she's going to at least do some a token amount of earth shall be placed upon her brother, so that he can pass on. He won't be a wandering shade or shadow through the eons, but he can actually pass into the afterlife. And so she's going to do her duty to cover him, and obeying that breaks the law of the land, right? And that threatens the stability of the city, right? But the stability of the city is really jeopardized on a cosmic level by the city obeying rules, its own rules that are in conflict with the cosmos, right? So this has a lot. I just think this is really cool. So if you let's just fast forward. So that's just kind of the groundwork, right? And you can see what's going on. So an outsider is critiquing the insider in the system. They both kind of need each other. It's not said that Creon is unwise in a sense. He does have a kind of wisdom, but that in his time, in his place, and in his the fate in which he's been placed, he's following a good principle in a bad direction that's going to cause just as much pain and misery, tragic fate to himself as it did to his brother Oedipus. He's not going to be marrying his mother and killing his father, but his family's going to be dead. His city's going to be in ruins, and he's going to it's going to go in bad for him. Interestingly, Antigone dies too, and that's also an important point. So she's living, she's deciding from her stance, from her perspective of moral fortitude, cosmic moral fortitude, against the civic morality, just obeying the laws of the land. She's obeying the laws of the cosmos, and she's decided that she's going to live, she's going to reject the civic system and kind of live in an older world. So you're going to see why I'm bringing this up. So that's kind of the theme. And now I want to talk about application. So today in the current year, in modern year, we typically think of outsiders critiquing the system, and they're critiquing the system in order to update it. If there's a cosmic law, the cosmic law has progressed farther than the civic law, and we need to catch up the civic law to the cosmic law. That's at least in the Western world. That's kind of an invention of the Western worldview, the modern Western worldview, and or I guess I could say contemporary to most people. Just pick a country in Europe or North America, or pick a university in those in particular, and that's going to be the implicit kind of the civic moral religion that you're going to find. And I don't say religion in a negative way. I just know that humans are religious, and they're going to find a way to have a personal sense of they're going to try and tap into what is a cosmic order that impacts them on an individual level, and they're going to find a way to, as they collect into some kind of community or public kind of civic situation, that they're going to need to find a way to make install a civic religion that's going to keep every, if you ascribe to it if you're a good person, and you should probably be ostracized if you are a bad person. That's no less true today than it was in Sophocles' time. It will not ever stop being true as long as humans are human. And I don't see any reason to think that humans have ever stopped. So I don't see that stopping in the future either. So how does Antigone fit in today's society? So Antigone is not a reformer in a way. On a certain level, she is. Creon's own son wants to marry Antigone. The city has a popular support for Antigone and would like to see the laws updated to reflect her moral sentiment. And Creon still says no, and still Antigone is killed. And that, and she's her life has been framed as being a lawbreaker by the state, and a bearer of just punishment. And but here's the thing about Antigone. So to understand Antigone is not you're doing violence to a story like that if you try to. It's not merely like some sort of feminist portrayal of a woman who's trying to progress society. She's actually trying to conserve something that has been violated by a progressive society. Now, talking about progressing in the sense of trying to move the cosmos in a particular direction to try and help bring safety and security to the city, to move beyond cosmic order to get to something that on the human level is seen to be what we need right now. That's what Creon is. So Creon, if you want to be respectful to the themes of the story and the intent of the author, if you want to dialogue with that, you can love it or hate it, but Sophocles is a conservative in a world that's philosophically his city in Athens is discussing things like there's sophists at that point, and there are people who are discussing that there's no like foundational cosmic law, and the city can make up whatever it needs to in order to be successful. And you don't need a city. A city doesn't survive and thrive or fall based on whether or not it's in alignment to these cosmic principles. You don't have to judge a city by cosmic principles to understand if it's going to be a success. You just need to It just needs to be internally consistent. Where there's just a lot of ways to go about discussing this, and so Sophocles is reacting to that, and he's saying, here's a woman, a young woman who's going to critique an old man and shame him over the course of the story. Should have listened to the young woman, and because the old woman is the conservative who was saying that the cosmic order is important. It's ultimately important, and to lose touch with that is to lose touch with the mooring that has grounded the city's success to begin with, and that's really interesting. So she's reforming. I actually kind of like the term reform. I said she's not a reformer. Reformer today kind of means updating. In older times, yesterday was Reformation Day. I don't know if you noticed that. Reformer used to mean that you're getting back to an older framework. So you're reforming, right? It's in the word. So the form has been lost from updates, and now we're reforming a shape that was once lost and is now found. That's Antigone, and that's what an outsider in a progressive city is doing, like Athens, or like in this case, like Creon's Thebes. I think that's really fascinating. That's my take. That's not me just kind of projecting what I want to see. You can pick other plays if you want to discuss things from a different perspective, but that's Sophocles' perspective in Antigone, and it's a beautiful story, I think, in that respect. And so application. It's just a couple points. So I got. You can hear me. I am driving on my way to work. That's, as you guys know, that's the only time I have to do any of this. But it's also when I'm at of clearest mind. So a guy I really admire is putting out a comic. His name is Jonathan Pageau, and he's really popularized this on the YouTube sphere of the insider-outsider, what the jester, what the upside-down world means on a cosmic level, and what critiquing the system from the outside looks like. He'll pick up on what Kanye West is doing. He's really good at this, and I think it's interesting. And but I haven't heard him pick up on this Antigonean layer to outsiders critiquing the system. There can be outsiders critiquing an old system to update it, and there are outsiders critiquing a new system to reform it. And I suppose he has talked about this in some ways with if the city has gone upside down, then the outsider is actually right side up, critiquing it to flip it. So I suppose he has. Take that back. But this is just kind of like a classical Greek way of getting at it, a Sophoclean way, which I think is a helpful way to talk about it, because these are really important distinctions. I think in this kind of flattened cultural atmosphere on social media, where we don't know how to have these sort of discussions very well anymore, we've kind of undereducated ourselves, I think, intentionally, to fit into sort of some sort of global least common denominator kind of meta culture. It's like, let's not dive too deeply into anything in life, or we won't be able to maximize our breadth of connections with people who have virtually no impact. Well, they virtually have an impact on our lives through social media, but they have no lasting or real impact, no cosmic impact on our lives. And So I encourage you to check out Jonathan Pageau if you haven't, and also check out his comic God's Dog. He's playing with these very themes. These are central to what Pageau talks about, and it's central to his comic book. And I'm looking forward to buying my copy. So I hope you are too. And lastly, have you heard of Metokur? You heard of Jim? He had a live stream on last night, which was Halloween night. Those of you, I don't need to survey Metokur, but he's basically one of the biggest, probably the most legendary in internet culture YouTube critiquers, like outsiders looking in from the Gamergate days. And so that's critiquing a system that is saying it's okay for women to immorally manipulate gaming review industries through sexual power to get inferior products unlawfully, in a cosmic sense, unlawfully lauded and positively reviewed. And so there's outsiders who are mostly laughing at that in a jester-like way, in order to flip in the upside down city, in order to flip that from the outside, to flip it back to rights, is that's the bead on Gamergate, and that's principally what Metokur did. He kind of found this is what's fascinating. He was only involved in that from his own perspective for a few months, if I remember right. And then as soon as he started to feel like the critiquing the system community, the critic community was becoming its own city of sorts, and was getting a little upside down, he noped out rather fast, and then and kind of maintained something of a I suppose rather I guess legendary sort of status, like a mythic, the supreme, the pure, the super jester, right? Gold star jester, because he when the revolutionaries who kind of won in a sense with getting the I guess gaming criticism community kind of got a lot more flattened out or spread out and decentralized as a result. And gamers were then aware that there's more than one voice to look at. You don't have to check out a magazine or something, or go to GameStop, I guess, to find out. It shows you how much I know about games, to find out what one should think about a particular game, indie or mainstream. So in a sense they won, but when offered the crown to be the king of the new city, he's kind of like a George Washington figure. Can I compare Metokur to George Washington? He's the only one to refuse the crown and walk away, and I think that's pretty interesting. Now he kind of drifts through particular topics over the next couple of years, and then 2020 he's early on, he's kind of the main doomer streamer about COVID. He also about the same time catches cancer, or in a particularly strange cornucopia of symptoms, and that it doesn't sound like still has a clear answer to. So he kind of drops out from making content whatsoever. He's just kind of hanging out in alts on Twitter, and not doxing the account, but everyone knows it. And so he kind of falls out. He gets his jester-like approach. It's been interesting because he what did he do? He decided he early called. He was watching what China's response to the COOF was. I think he invented the word COOF. And he decided it was going to be the worst. I'm just remembering now that Susan wants me to use alternative words at this point. But suffice it to say that the commentary community, which he helped inspire back in 2015 or something around there, actually took the principles of being living outside the city, outside the upside down city, looking in and laughing at it from the outside, and hoping through entertainment that you could flip the city, or at least you could live a happier life outside the city with more laughter as in a way, like the city becomes entertainment through just laughing at it, I suppose, is what the sort of the paradox situation. Like, maybe you don't even care if the city ever reforms. That's not very Sophoclean, but that's kind of the situation we do often find ourselves in. Maybe that's one of the things it seems like Metokur kind of walked away from with Gamergate, was that criticizing the city, criticizing the upside down city, became its own kind of profit-making enterprise, and you didn't really care if anything. You actually didn't want the city to reform, because then you'd lose your newfound revenue. But he was critiquing. He kind of got a lot of people on the internet space. We now know that the COOF is not the real threat. It was the response to the COOF, which was the greatest threat to people. That puts people in the most mortal danger. Is the threat, the response, and I do mean that in terms of quality of life, health, physical, spiritual, mental, cosmic. The city has decided, in order, it's very Creon-like, has decided in order to keep things in order, that we're going to violate cosmic orders, cosmic laws, in order to keep people unnaturally safe, I suppose is the idea. And Metokur didn't call that. He didn't call that shot. It was relatively early. As soon as lockdown started, Metokur stopped streaming, and that had to do with personal health concerns. He came back once a couple months ago and said that he's not going to change his mind just because the commentary community has changed its mind in the past year and a half. And I think that's interesting, because at that point he's realizing. So Metokur, it doesn't matter if he rejected the crown. He became something. When you reach that sort of mythic status, you become part of the institution. Doesn't matter if you accept it or not. Doesn't matter if you stop streaming. You come back once and you find yourself sitting on a throne, and you find yourself surrounded by sycophants, and you also find yourself surrounded, despite your best efforts, sycophants and also jesters, people on your outside who are laughing at you from the outside, hoping that you'll reform, or hoping that they can make money off of your tragic downfall or something. That's where he finds himself in. So he comes back last night for the second return stream, and most of the stream is about making fun of someone that he was kind of watching a bit in 2015. He was gonna kind of lolcow review interview 6 years ago, and now he does an update. What is it? Dwayne Lambright, and trying to get the chat to laugh at this guy, he quickly finds out that the chat finds him to be a tragic hero. This is a guy. So this is Metokur from the throne that he never asked for, but nevertheless is sitting on at this point. He's going to laugh at a guy who is living in a shed in the desert, who is claiming to be the target of harassment from his landlord, being stiffed money. His family has rejected him. This guy clearly seems to be burning through relationships and burning through finances, and doesn't seem like he's going to be able to keep his car and all this sort of thing. And he's making outlandish claims about the Chinese embassy and all this sort of stuff. And it's basically the chat. Not something that would have happened 5 or 6 years ago when Metokur was properly speaking an Antigonean character standing outside the gates demanding that a higher law be obeyed. Now he's on the inside making fun of someone who is clearly a vessel of pity on a cosmic level. And what does the chat do? It immediately taps into this and understands. It takes Metokurian principles and has been applying them since he stopped streaming, and says, no, you are wrong, Metokur. This guy deserves to be championed in a way, and let's call him based, and let's call him, I don't know, let's talk about him in terms of a tragic hero type character. He's a victim of a particular system that we see rampant today, and we actually identify more with him than with you, Metokur. And what does Metokur do? Metokur turns it around. He finds that the stream where he thought he was going to be making fun of someone, that he gets reformed. This is Creon reforming. He says, I apologize. Happy birthday. It turns out it's Wayne Lambright's birthday. He says happy birthday to him, and the next time we stream, I guess it's going to be a New Year's stream, and he's going to get Wayne Lambright on. He's going to interview him. After 6 years of not being able to pull that together, he's going to make it happen. And that's really interesting. So that's a figure. That's Wayne. If you watch the stream, you understand Wayne is something of a dark Antigone situation, and he gets lampooned as a much more even darker Antigone character. And the chat, as the chat will do, enjoys this and expects a reformation from Metokur. And Metokur has enough sense, maybe because he rejected the throne and woke up one day and found himself on it rather than consciously accepting it. He had the cosmic foresight to see that he needed to listen to Antigone outside the gates, and he needed to update. He needed to not update. He needed to reform. So that's my thoughts. I think it's interesting. That's Wayne Lambright. That's Jonathan Pageau. Check out his comic God's Dog. I think it's dropping. He's doing a stream November 2nd, so I'm thinking that's when it drops. If not, I think originally it was supposed to be Halloween. But the Kickstarter is I think you can already sign up for the pre-launch on the Kickstarter. I'll put the link in the description, so check that out. And Antigone. These are really important concepts. So let me know your thoughts. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.